You know, this market recently is something else. I just watching the S&P 500 has just completely blown my mind. But it was like, I feel like a lot of quote unquote bears got capulated. I mean, once we hit that big level, what was it like 432? It was kind of like, okay, 440, like this is beyond what's happening, like pretty much buy the dip. And I think once people started to realize just BTFD, like we're gonna make a lot of money. And that's what's been happening. A lot of options traders like, hey, we got to pull back, buy the dip, buy the dip. I think we are going to have a cool off, pretty soon. But we'll see. Nobody has any idea. But unfortunately, it doesn't reflect over to the OTC market because, just like SPY, the S&P 500, bad news is good news is bad news. Well, that seems to happen to the OTC where, good news is bad news because some of these mergers that come through, news runners like, oh, $80 million acquisition, mergers coming. Oh, I hate it. Sell it. I don't want anything to do with that. It's all about the volume, the Momo. But the thing I always press that I've covered on all the videos since, a year ago is, OTC is good for swing trading. It doesn't have a lot of liquidity to try and have a news runner to flip because, that's how you're going to get bagged to me. But that's, to each their own. But, they have small caps every morning. 7 a.m. Bazinga's posting the hottest ones for the day. The ones that have, the most volume, that have the biggest gap up. So, you can clearly play the gap, you can play the breakout, whatever. But, I'm going to talk about a few low float OTCs today and actually a NASDAQ play or a New York Stock Exchange that I really think is going to continue churning up. I'm going to show you the chart and tell you why. But, when we talk about liquidity, I've had a lot of people like, hey, man, let's talk about some low floaters. So I'm going to talk about some. I don't even think I own any of them. I think I might own one. I don't even know. I've been collecting stocks recently just because I know there's going to come a time they're going to explode. So we're going to cover that today. We're going to talk about the market a little bit. We're going to cover some of the stocks we've talked about in the past, and definitely one towards the end. I think it's really going to start going. Especially heading into their earnings, their quarter report, and I'll show you why. I'll tell you what the CEO is saying. But I won't bore you with all that. So let's go and get into the video. So the first one I want to talk about today is one that I actually had mentioned if you follow me on Twitter, and it's FUBO. So FUBO. Now, if you remember, this thing has made some prolific runs in the past. Trades on NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. But the thing about it, and it was somebody in our Discord who actually brought it up to me, was like, this chart's looking good. And it was. I mean, you could see where it broke out here, but this is the thing. So their last quarter earnings, they had a nice beat. And they're talking about being cash flow positive, going into 2025. So we've got some time. But, they just recently partnered for the Boston Red Sox, Cleveland Guardians, so they're getting into the MLB, as far as .com, trying to really press on, and start familiarizing themselves, getting good ad revenue, showing MLB games and so forth. But then they partner with Ryan Reynolds as well on another TV show. So, you've got Catalyst coming, and then they've been talking about their earnings. So they raised guidance last quarter. So, this is currently trading at about a 900 mil market cap. And, last earnings they did, I think a little over, it was like $330 million. So to me right now, it's completely undervalued. Now, looking at this chart, okay, so you can see here, and I was wondering, I didn't take that much. I was like, you know what? And, as we talk about this video, remember, disclosure, not financial advice. We'll call it paper trading. These are just trade ideas, for you to possibly, use or not use. So, don't need the SEC knocking on my door. So take them, don't take them, whatever. Just having fun talking about them. But so you can see right here. So this thing it got annihilated, and then they started pushing out some of that good news, had good earnings and so forth. And then you could see this gap right here. So it went up to push the gap, no luck, back down. And then try it again, went up to push the gap, no luck. And then but as you can see, it's trending up. It's following this trend line all the way through. And then you can see here, try it again, and it's just having trouble with this gap. Finally busted through with volume. And then, continued. And then if we draw a line straight across, you could see basically a double top here. And now it had its first red day. So for me, I really want to add around 250. So you can see where the previous gap was in breakout. So this should be a solid support down here at 222. But, with their earnings August 4th, I think this thing can really climb. I think it's already started. So, I won't give price targets, but I think it's going to be a nice one. It's going to be a nice swing for me. So feel free to check it out yourself, but love the chart, love the breakout. As you can see, we should have support around here. I'd like to get somewhere around 250. We'll see if that happens, especially because we only have a couple weeks till earnings. And if they do have good earnings and they raise guidance, this thing, it's just going to keep going. So this could be one of those ones where you get in early and then over the course of a year or so, it's a really good long swing, long play. So I just wanted to share that one with you guys. I really liked it. Love the chart, like the catalysts, like their growth, and to get it so cheap down, under $3. I think it's a solid steal. So we're going to talk about GEGI, and you know what? I was talking about at the beginning of the video with like OTC traders when, good news is bad news is good news, whatever. And for some reason, it's like, this made a prolific run, from trips to 005, 006, and of course it's going to have a pullback, as we talked about in the videos. Hey, it's got to cool off. It's going to cool off. We don't know when. Could it keep going? Yes. Could it pull back? Of course. But, of course here, they say, hey, we appreciate all your patience and, it's going to be a great future for us and so forth. But OTC traders hate patience. It's for some reason they can't stay in stocks too long and say, oh, this one, it's like ADHD all over. But, down here, it's like towards the end of the day on Friday. Actually, I think it was after hours. So I think a lot of people that grab these 20s or low 30s are going to have a good week because, we'll see here. Kevin Demoa, he said, thank you for the loyal shareholders and family. We're grateful for your commitment to us and the belief of the dream. We're all share, yada, yada. We are working tireless on daily and, for a decarbonized tomorrow. Please have a safe and cool weekend, no matter where you are. So, it's great. That's what people are looking for. It doesn't have to be lightning news. It's just they like updates. So as long as they're communicating, people love it. So then Robot here says positive words from the CEO. Do we hear big news next week? And he comes down here and says, that is our aim for sure. I challenge my staff to put out only real news. We are a team of veterans who have served the trenches of many of the leading industry technologies that, worlds adore today. My vision for GEGI is to continue on that legacy no matter what. Those to me are pretty strong words. Like I said, the reason I was, quote unquote, long from, for the trips or teens or 20s, 30s, whatever, is because of the vision that they have. Of course, if this breaks, bunch of support and they dilute and this and that, obviously, you want to rethink your plan. But, just looking back at the chart, it had support here. Let's see, what did I pull up? The 40 moving average, because the 50 was down here, or I think it was around 28. But you could see, 27, 28 should be good support. It did close up around 30s, but, then the company's like, hey, guess what? Bam, here we go. Many major developments coming. They're basically saying, hey, we appreciate your patience. Big news is coming. Just hang in there a little bit longer. So, we'll see what happens once the news does arrive, which it is looking like it should be next week. So I'm expecting this one to have a nice green day on Monday. If it's not, the system is broken. But, we'll see what it does. So I'm not going to talk about that one too much because, we talk about it every single video. And like I said, I'm going to try and cover it throughout the process of their different developments. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And then same thing with HIRU. We've talked about it several times in the past. Chart, awesome. It's riding this trend line. It was close to breaking down. It's like I said earlier, it seems that people kind of get bored. They're like, hey, there's no new updates. But even they say here, they're like, hey, we are planning on buying back shares. We're working on financials. And as you know, they have new customers coming. They're trying to work on audited fins and so forth. So once they start announcing the new partnerships and so forth, this can really push into that next leg. But still currently on that trend line. And that's what the thing that just kind of drives me crazy about OTC is like, it's like they'll go chase something else. Oh, this crypto trips play 003 and then, get bagged on that. And then all of a sudden, they sold it low a day. And then the company comes in, we're buying back shares today. Things are happening, ready to go. And then it closes up at, high day 0049. But, whatever. So if you can find a good system to trade OTC, you can really, be lucrative on it. But Chart's looking great. Love the chart. HIRU is just ready. I'm just ready for this thing to leg up, and we should be able to kiss 006 as long as they continue providing updates. Then leg up, break through that. So I would love to see this thing move to a penny. I really would. Not just for me or whatever, but one, for OTC because it's good for the community. Two, it's good for shareholders because I know a lot of people have been in since the lows and they're probably sitting on a nice chunk of change. But so far, chart's shaping up, looking great, love it. Let's keep up the communication, guys. And then next one I'm going to talk about is AWON. So we're talking about low floats, good share structures. This one kind of reminds me of HIRU, HIRU. So I remember somebody telling me that this was like a beverage company. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. But I looked at the chart. I was like, wow, this thing is powerful. So, as you can see here, it broke out, channeled down, broke out, and then went all the way up. I guess we'll call this a bear flag, kind of broke down a little bit. And then, it's kind of finding support here. And, I'd say low to mid penny. But, it went up past 3 cents. So right now it's over a 50% retrace. And then I was like, let me look into this company. Accumulation solid. So then I started going through and I was like, huh. And then, so they're doing share cancellations. They're applying to OTCQB. They have a bunch of news coming. And then they talk about this, closing on our first LOI next week. So this was a few days ago. 5 more beverage companies coming aboard in the next 120 days. Now looking for another location in Copac and East Coast. More news to come. And somebody had mentioned they might actually get a partnership with HIRU. So that'd be cool to have these in tandem. But they're adding a bunch of beverage lines to it, 5 more, so they're going to have a bunch of acquisitions, good share structure, accumulation strong. This thing, same thing, if people get behind it, they can really push it. So check out their website there. And then this one is tricky. So if you remember, if you follow me on Twitter, I think it was about 2 years ago, Osci. So they had said that they were going to have 3 big announcements after they became pink current. So I started buying. I was like, okay, well, hey, let's start buying now. It shouldn't be too long. This thing took like 6 months to go pink current. It took forever. But I had accumulated quite a lot during that time. And it ran from, 0.07 to 12 to 40s. It was like 400 or 500% run over like a day and a half, 2 days. And I don't know what's going on with this. So as I post here, Tom Moore was recently removed, it looks like, from the company. I know a lot of people didn't like Tom Moore. So I don't know what they're doing because their Twitter has been silent. I haven't tried to reach out to the company. Last year they talked about, hey, we're going to get to the mine. We're going to have equipment delivered. We got financing. And then they just ghosted. They went to Walmart and never came back. But now something is happening. So I've always had this on my watch list, and as you can see, accumulation is very strong. It's moving up. The stock channeling, and it's starting to push. But, so I don't know if maybe insiders are buying or what's happening. But, as soon as that guy got removed, buying started. So I'm looking, I'm going to follow the company and see if they provide updates. But as of now, I haven't really heard anything. But I just saw this the other day. I'm like, this thing was just like a penny, not too long ago. Now it's 4 cents. But that's the power of this stock. It's a low float. It can really move. And I remember when we were waiting for them to deliver the machinery and so forth, it was like 20 cents. So the opportunity here at 4 or 5 cents could be great. But, we need a company to come alive and say exactly what's happening because we don't know. So this is kind of like a speculative play, kind of a mystery at this moment, but definitely keep it on your radar. Follow them on the Twitter because they have a lot of followers as well. So if they do say, hey, we had problems last time, things are ready now, let's go, like this thing's going to rip. So definitely keeping an eye on that one. Next I'm going to talk about RWGI. So this one, look at the share structure, okay? So the float, it might be a little, it's definitely outdated. So we'll look at the DTC between the unrestricted. So it's between 11.5 and 20 million, as far as the float. So very small. And as I post here, it says it was up 90% on Friday, but it was on no volume. So if this thing does get volume, it can push just like it showed in the past 6 months to a year, 5 cents, 7 cents, 10 cents or more. This thing could just blast like, 1,000%. And the company is very active. So, when you go through and they're talking about multiple acquisition and JV targets, and then, they're talking about, all their orders coming in, and then they said LOI for acquisition has been signed. Management has delivered update acquisition agreement for review. This was a little over a week ago. And then they talk about continues to push forward to acquisitions, meaning Collective Cannabis, as far as their growth. And then, Chris Schwartz here talks about everything that he's doing, and it's talking about, the acquisitions, the share cancellation, and the clean up the capital structure and audit. So you have audit, share cancellation, and acquisitions coming on a quote-unquote maybe 12 mil float sitting 3 cents, 2 cents, 1 cent. So if retail gets behind this and pushes it, it's going to fly. So definitely keep RWGI on your radar. And then this is the one. Sometimes you have a feeling about a stock and you're like, you kind of see the future and where it's going. So you remember, and I'll post it here, back in January when, Vetcom came. And I do want to say something first, before I go into the video, because I said my old video when I covered CEOs, and I was talking about Kate Ramon, I said, ex-Marine. But, I got corrected, and, once a Marine, always a Marine. All right, so I covered it. So Kate Marone, keep it up. But, they had talked about trying to get, 1 million veterans, signed up for this program to where they can get benefits and, get the help they need, the medicinal help and, pain management, whatever it is, between the coffee, the stress relief, all their products and so forth. So just kind of outline like a plan for them. But, they had said 1 million veterans, and then you're thinking, okay, and then they talk about the product being anywhere from $250 to $1,000 per person. And then, so when they're talking about their earnings, that's upwards of, like they said, almost $1 billion. Well, hey, guess what? Then they just had a PR last week, what was it, 3 days ago? Vetcom announces a partnership with veteran forces to offer access to benefits and support nearly 2 million veterans. So now you're starting to put those numbers in your head. You're like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So, and then this is, a merger that happened a few months ago. So we should start to see revenue on this upcoming quarter. Now, when we look at this chart, same thing kind of like HIRU, it's gorgeous. So, when we talked about it, it was around, 0.025, 3 cents. And then it broke out into 0.45 and then, had some resistance. And then now it's curling back up. But the only thing this doesn't have is a lot of volume yet. I can definitely see it being accumulated, but once it breaks this top right here at 0.5, it's going to explode. 8s, 9s, 10s, 12s, who knows? Now, when their earnings come out, which should be, so quarter close, 45 days after, should be about mid-August. So definitely put that on your calendar. So we have about a month from now. So if they do post some big numbers, and let me show you something about the CEO. So this is her here. So I'm going to go ahead and play this little snip. And then I'll just let you listen to her.
Hello all, Kate Monroe, CEO of Vetcom. I just wanted to thank everybody for just all the retweeting that you did today about our big news. It looks like some of you are out there doing that easy finger math on, what this new partnership means to us. We're just so excited. So many amazing things. I can't wait to share revenue with you because I know some of you have been out there talking a little bit about you'd like to see it. And there's nobody who'd like you to see it more, but I can assure you this. There is revenue. We are making sales. We're absolutely crushing it. We ramped up, built out a new part of our office, hired new people. We are absolutely going to crush the rest of this summer. Hello all, Kate.
Okay, so you can see the enthusiasm in Kate's voice. And then, they're basically talking about the team's growing. We believe that our Q2 report will change the trajectory of the company. So I don't know if you guys are excited as I am. Like, this has extreme potential. I mean, extreme, with the share structure, what they're doing, and then not only that, but it's a good company. It's not like some, oil or anything else that's just getting high revenue. Like, they're veterans, low share structure, nice chart with a major catalyst coming up in the next month. Like, to me, it's perfect. So, keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. We definitely want to see what's happening into earnings. I mean, you could see the enthusiasm coming from Kate, which I know a lot of people are really excited as well. So we got about a month left. Let's see if we can break that 0.5. But remember, not a financial advisor. Just really excited about what they're bringing to the table. So the last one I'm going to talk about today is CDSG. So, and I gotta thank my buddy Tradeify because he's been telling me like, hey man, this thing is good. It's gonna go. So I've been digging into it a little bit, and I can't post all the due diligence because there's so much. I mean, it would take me all day, and I'm already running you guys rampant on this video time. But But you can see back here, what was it? Was it late February, March? This thing ran up to 19 cents. So, you go back and look at the news, why did it reach that area? And then it basically says CDSG to acquire 100% interest in lithium project in Tanzania, which is massive. So there's not too many lithium companies. So I know their partner company BRLL, is doing a lot of work as well. But with CDSG, just looking at the chart here, I mean, it had a massive move, tapered off, back up. I mean, this thing was getting traded between 12 and 18 cents for a good portion of a few months. But here we are back down around this area where it originally broke out. And, Trady had mentioned to me, he said, hey, you're going to want to get some of this. Like, they're working on a Form 10, they're working on, as far as an audit and so forth, but, they're going to have boots on the ground, drills ready, either by year end or even before. And, so when you go back and you look at all the news that they've been pushing out, which it's a lot, so they're very big on updates. They've been doing test samples, Gigafactories conference, and then same thing, they're doing the rich lithium zone. I mean, it's going to be big. So keep an eye on that one as well. Definitely follow their Twitter for updates. And then, I'll go ahead and post some of his DD here. So definitely follow Tradeify on Twitter. You can go through and read his DD and, what's going on. But, he has a lot of due diligence, of what's going to happen and what they're drilling. And, once they go through and find lithium, they start selling it in revenue. And then, you talk about CDSG, and it says Titan Lithium is headed to Tanzania to meet up with investors to view the Titan properties. Exciting times ahead as we're beginning the stages of executing a drill program to develop an inferred resource. So big things happening there. I'm really keeping an eye on this one. Looking back at the chart, I was like, oh man, I really hope I can get some 4 or 5, 6, whatever. But it seems to be bottoming out. It did make a move, 8 9s, and then now it's tapering back down. So if I can get some 5s, I'll be happy. But if not, no biggie. Definitely a good one to start accumulating with profits from others, because kind of like I talked about OSCI from, was it a year or 2 years ago? You get runners, swings, start compounding others, and as you compound ones that take longer, once they finally go, you're looking really good, then you take that, you pay yourself out, and then you move to the next swing. And that's what, to me, OTC is all about, is swinging these that sometimes take patience. It's not going to happen overnight, but as you're able to accumulate them, you can really, do a dent. So, just wanted to cover those with you guys today. So we've talked about AWON, they have a lot of acquisitions, RWGI, more acquisitions. Both of them have share cancellations coming. And then, we talked about CEOS, gorgeous chart. Once this thing breaks open, I mean, it's going to fly. And, you can see the excitement about the CEO herself. So let's see if we get some GEGI news next week. Let's see if HIRU continues to buy. Exciting times ahead for all the stocks mentioned. And, definitely check out some FUBO. Excited about that one as well. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let me down in the comments what you're looking at. If there's any upcoming catalysts on penny stocks, definitely let me know so I can cover them. That way we can get more eyes and just continue to help the community. So appreciate you guys watching.